Benedict, Ria, and Ryan back here. And if there are any questions, we do have 5 minutes. So we're not going to give you an early and quick lunch here. Janina?
This is a question for Benedict. When you say that there is a data analysis at some stage of the clinical trial,
yep.
Who is responsible for the final results of this data? Is it the physician to conduct the clinical trial, or is it the company which sponsors the trial? And along the same line, if we see a paper published on a clinical trial and it says that it's sponsored by the company, obviously the company has some bias. How much we should trust it?
As suspected, if Nina is asking something, it's always the very easy question. Of course, if this is a company-sponsored trial, it depends really on the contract you have. But in all contracts nowadays, there is really the company who is really the owner of the data set. So it's not the clinician, it's the company. And therefore, it should be, and that's the normal situation, hopefully, in all the clinical trials we have in Pompe disease, that the company has a high interest that the key opinion leaders who are the key investigators, that they have a trust in all the data they are presented. But I'm sure there are always questions about the raw data. And not always we see all raw data, and that's one of the troubles we have. And we have to, as a team here, and that's really the patients can be involved, and also we as the investigators have to ask and challenge the company again and again, please show us all data you have and show us all what you are doing. So that's really what we need to do, definitely.
Are there any more questions? Yes.
Where do you think the responsibility falls for letting patients know about clinical trials available? Because in my experience, I know I've asked our doctors about certain clinical trials and they either don't know about them or don't quite understand how to get into them. So do you feel that falls really on the patient to be our own advocate, to come and be like, I want to be in this clinical trial?
I think in anything, the person who has the most interest should feel the most motivated. So I don't know who has the responsibility, but I know certainly as a patient, if you're not the most interested or if we are not the most interested or most motivated, that says something, right? So I think, yeah, whether somebody else should tell us or our doctor should be knowledgeable, doesn't matter at that point. If you have an opportunity to find out through something like clinicaltrials.gov yourself, I check it regularly.
But don't you think some doctors should maybe look into clinical trials when it comes to a rare disease? I guess I'm not trying to call out doctors, I'm just asking.
I think that as I've gotten into this, and I have not gone to medical school, so everything confuses me, but from what I have learned about the complexities of it and learned about the differences in specialties here, I think it's unrealistic to expect that any individual can stay up to date on everything. So it falls back to who is the most motivated, and that's not. And I don't mean that at all as a criticism of our researching community. It's just unrealistic to expect that with all the amount of information that we know, that can be possessed by one person, even if they read 12 hours a day.
And honestly, that can even happen to us experts, that someone is coming up with something very brand new, and that was really a local information, perhaps in one of the states in the US, and hasn't come to Europe yet. So therefore, that happens, and I think that's fine. I think therefore it should primarily be your interest to be up to date. And of course, you should find a doctor you trust in, because that's all about trust building you have for clinical trials. A very important issue, trust building, that you believe that the doctor is doing the right thing for you, and you can follow him, what he's doing and what he's explaining to you. So that is already the partnership we need here.
Yeah, just to play on that, I think maybe finding it and identifying it is in our best interest, but certainly to have somebody that you believe in and shows you the mutual respect to give you the time to help explain it or understand it, even if they were not the one to find it, that's an important part of finding, about completing your care team.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question, and then there's lunch.
Ryan, I know as a patient with Pompe, we talk about the registry a lot. Wouldn't it be wonderful that we could get all of these different registries combined and sharing data so that this can move along even faster? How can we get people more excited to do that and share this data so that we can move this process along?
I have opinions on that will get me in trouble if I say them.
Me too. Me
thoroughly.
too. But I feel
my-
like if we could share this data, it would be good for everybody.
So my generic belief is that we've seen in other places in the rare disease community, patient advocacy groups, centralized patient advocacy groups, starting up their own registries and being really the owners of everything with it, including collaborators with it, but really owning the leadership element of that. And I think we could benefit, our community could benefit from a similar type of activity. On the technology platforms that Dr. Schosser alluded to earlier, there's lots of folks out there that are trying to compete for that business and that space. There's lots of technology solutions that we can choose. I think we have the benefit of looking around at what other folks have done since our early registry, which was, again, novel at the time, to really make good decisions about how to structure our registry going forward, but we should do that soon.
Yes, I think it's a discussion, an ongoing discussion also inside the IPA together with other stakeholders, because it's key in the future as we're now facing the fact that there are more industries popping up and all have their post-marketing appointments to fulfill. We do need to work more closely together with industry and not to be in a case where there 5 or 6 or 10 industries are collecting separately all data from patients. It's a huge issue, yes.
And registries and the survey are on the schedule for this afternoon also.
Right.
So we can cover it.
Yeah. So thank you all. I think we can break for lunch, but I think we got a lot of take-home messages here. The importance of the patient being informed and being a self-advocate, the importance of working collaboratively with the physician and educating yourself on the pathway to a clinical trial and what's right or not right, the role of the registries and working together, and of course the patient perspective as we move ahead. And I'm sure in the upcoming meetings there can be more focus on this, on the registry and the role of the registries. Thank you. Enjoy lunch.